is a 360 camera something that you actually really need? I know. The hype is real. You see all these crazy angles and shots online and automatically think, I need to get my hands in one of those. This camera is going to make my videos so much better. And honestly, I completely understand. So because I've never actually shot with a 360 camera, I asked a friend of mine if I could borrow his and see what the hype is all about. This right here is the Insta360 X6. And yes, I know that Insta360 just released the X6, which is a new version. It has a new sensor, it's smaller, it has new features, but honestly, I really don't want to dive into those specs in this video because I'm much more interested in diving into the practical aspects of using one of this. So I came up with 3 questions for this video. The first one is, does this actually help me to improve my craft? Second is, does this give something that my normal camera cannot? And number 3 is this just another piece of equipment that is going to go into the drawer and never ever gonna be used again? So one of the biggest positives, but also one of the biggest disappointments for me with those cameras is that you actually don't need to frame anything. You basically just hold the camera, point anywhere, and then reframe it later. And that is crazy. I mean, come on guys, we spend so much time framing our shots when we're filming with a normal camera. And that means that you can get shots that otherwise you would never be able to capture. At the same time, you would need, I don't know, 4 or 5 different cameras, 4 or 5 different people. And let's be honest, we all know that that's pretty much impossible when you're shooting by yourself. First, you only have 1, maybe 2 cameras, but you only have 2 hands. But this is also where I started to notice something. The fact that you don't really have to frame your shot doesn't really mean that there's no work to be done. The only thing that it means that the work has to be done later. And this part, to be honest, I felt a little bit cumbersome to do the whole thing. Because first you have to import all your clips from the Insta360 X6 into the Insta360 Studio. From there, you need to reframe and create a bunch of keyframes so you can actually choose which one is the frame that you want to use. After reframe them and making sure that all the shots that you need are there, you then have to export the files and add it to your software of choice. It can be DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro or Adobe, whatever software that you might use. It's not really complicated, but it just adds another step to the process that sometimes for us is already a lot. The software is actually pretty easy to use. You can get the gist of it pretty quickly, but again, it's just another step on the way. Now, something that for me, almost every single action camera lack is quality. It doesn't matter if you're shooting in 4K, 5K, 8K, the quality seems to be low regardless. They always seem to have exact the same problem. The footage is noisy, the quality is not there, there's no sharpness enough, and you have to kind of edit quite a lot to make something good afterwards. And there's something important to remember when it is about a 360 camera. If you're shooting in 8K, doesn't mean that you're getting the 8K quality. It means that you have a massive file with different field of views where you can choose a portion of that frame afterwards. And that is going to be your final shot. So 8K doesn't necessarily mean that you're gonna have 8K image quality. It just means that you have a bigger image that you're going to be able to choose from that image. And there is something else that I actually miss. I really like to control my depth of field, meaning I like to choose what I shoot. If I want it wide, or if I want something that is more shallow depth of field, if I want to show details, if I want to show small things, big things, that makes a difference when you're shooting your videos. So if I'm shooting a person, I want to be able to separate them from the background. If I'm shooting an object, I want to create that nice shallow depth of field so your eyes will be focused on the object that I'm filming. With a camera like this, pretty much everything is in focus. Now, the Insta360 X5 does kind of focus on your face, but it doesn't necessarily make anything else sharper or adds depth of field. It just means that you are in frame. Now, something like this is for sure useful when you're trying to capture everything, because then everything is in focus, and especially with the 360, you will need afterwards have to reframe and choose your shots. But for the type of content that I make, that I like, I need and want that separation. Now, something else that is also very important to me that I do in every single video, doesn't matter how small it is shooting in log. I normally shoot in log because it just gives me a more control image afterwards in post. And if you don't know what log is basically a flat image where it retains more data and allow you to create your own style later on in post. It just gives you more flexibility overall when you're color grading. The X5 does have log, which is called iLog, but it is an 8-bit color, meaning that there is not a lot of flexibility for you to edit later. And also, if you are shooting in iLog on the Insta360, you need to bear in mind that the only resolution you can shoot iLog is 4K and 5.7K. Anything above that, it will default to the natural colors of the camera. When you're shooting in iLog, you can convert that footage into Rec. 709 inside of the 360 Studio. You can also download the LUTs and use it in your DaVinci or Premiere Pro, which is what I did because I thought I would have a little bit more flexibility. But at the end of the day, it's pretty much the same. If you correct it in the Insta360 Studio or if you correct it in DaVinci, you might have the same thing. Some of the very good things about cameras like this is that practicity. So the battery will last you for the whole day. So you don't really need to worry about charging it or having to replace batteries. Although if you do need to charge, the battery charges quite fast. And if you do have a different bundle, it comes with extra batteries, meaning you just need to switch it and you're good to go. It will last most of the time for the whole day. Of course, it also depends on how much you shoot, how long you leave your camera running, but for most case scenarios, a whole day of battery should be doable with this camera. Unfortunately, the X5 does not have any internal storage like the Action 6 or even the new X6 from Insta360, so you need a micro SD card to be able to record anything. There's also something else that is not specifically to the X5. It's in general for all action cameras. You have only one focal length. When you're using different focal lengths, you are able to create dynamic in your videos. You can get a macro shot, you can get a very wide shot, you can have a medium shot, and every one of those shots help you to tell a story. So after using action cams for a while, you started to feel a little bit boring because you have only one single focal length. Yes, you can zoom in and out, but it's still not the same. Because even though I can actually change the angle with a 360 camera, the overall visual perspective doesn't really change the same way when you change your lenses, when you have different focal lengths that you can use. Just remember though, reframing is not the same as changing your perspective. I also should hurry up here because I have been eaten by mosquitoes. Damn, if you ever film in a forest like I'm here now, you know what I'm talking about. Whew. And this is probably the biggest takeaway that I took from this camera. Just because you can reframe later doesn't mean that you don't have to think about your shots. Doesn't mean that you can just point and shoot and then just hope for the best. You still need to think about an idea. You still need to think about what your subject is, what perspective do you want to give to the viewer, what kind of movement you want, where you want your viewer to look at. All those things matter when you're telling a story, because otherwise you can just point the camera somewhere, hit record and think about, well, I'll figure out later. You might have a technically perfect shot, but nothing really interesting, and that is the big lesson here. The camera gives you freedom, but it doesn't really give you creativity. You still need to think about what you want, because otherwise you'll be all disconnected and, well, your videos will not look that good. Now I need to go because I can't handle these mosquitoes. And by the way, look at this. It looks like we're already in autumn, but it's just have been so dry here in Switzerland that all the leaves died and now they just looks like autumn. Like it looks like we're already 2 months ahead. Am I in the future? Who knows? So, who do I actually think should be buying this camera here, or any 360 camera for that matter? If you're shooting action, travel, running, skiing, anything that is more focused on the entire environment, that you don't really need to change focus or anything like that, I can see why this camera could be a good thing for you. But, and that is a big one, if you are making content more towards talking heads or YouTube videos, cinematic things, commercial project, and image quality and control perspectives are what you need, this camera will not give you any of that. Is this camera something that I will be buying? I don't think so. And it's not because it's a bad camera. It's definitely one camera that has given me the most fun to work with recently. I just think that this is not the camera for the type of content that I create. For me, I'd much rather just keep using my Action 6, which I actually really like and it's very versatile, or the DJI Pocket 4P when it arrives. And I think that's probably the biggest lesson that I took from this. Every time that a new camera comes out, it's easy to convince yourself that you need it. Believe me, I do this all the time. And you think that buying that camera is gonna make your shots and your videos, your content a lot better. But I think there's a better question than, is this a good camera? Which is, does this camera give me something that I actually need? And for me, to be very honest, not really. Honestly, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video and I hope you learned something from it. The X5 is a very cool, powerful tool. I just don't think that is for me. Don't forget to like, comment if that's something you're interested, if there's something you think about. Maybe you're gonna grab the new X6 or even maybe the new DJI OSMO 360. Then I'm actually kind of curious to test it out. DJI, if you want to send it, welcome. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.